out. She's also then going to, she probably will cover a bit about doing layers in Photoshop for doing star trails and removing, you know, planes if you don't want those in your shot. So if you're interested in shooting the night sky, the Milky Way, I absolutely thoroughly recommend that you join the meeting next month, because she is an excellent teacher. And I learned so much from her when I heard her lecture about 18 months ago. But in March, we're going to be doing a new sort of meeting, which is called the Post-Processing Challenge. And basically, I wanted to introduce this to everyone now so that you can get an idea of what we're going to be doing, and I'll give you some time to think about it. So it won't be until March. You've got plenty of time. Basically, what it will be is we will circulate amongst the club several raw images, and then we will ask people to post-process them in any way that they like. And then we'll come back to the meeting and we'll compare notes of what people did and share our ideas and share our techniques. And so I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean tonight. And this is a raw image which I sent to Michael Cohen and Barney, who's on this call tonight. And I asked them to just get creative and do what they wanted. And so some of the examples here, this is one of Barney's where he's gone in and done some editing, and you can see how different that shot is from the raw image. This is also one of Barney's, looking at it in black and white. Michael has done some stuff to the sky here. So I'm just gonna, now Michael did some stuff that I didn't notice at first because I was just looking at the thumbnails, but if you look down here to the sort of middle on the right, he's shooped in a fisherman here. Can you see that? This is a really nice sort of night shot. This is an interesting kind of filter that he's applied. I didn't see the moose here at first. I took this raw image. There wasn't a moose here, but Michael's kindly put a moose here for me. You know, there's a discussion going on the TPC Facebook page right now about the ethics of digitally modifying your images and what can you remove and what can you add. And so, you know, we can talk about those things in the meeting in March. Is it okay to Photoshop in a moose? Maybe not. I don't know. This is another black and white from Michael, and he's done a whole bunch. He got excited and did a whole bunch. And then here, of course, this is still the same raw, but he's cropped it and added a dramatic sky. Some of the other things we might have time to cover also is just taking images that, I mean, I took this on the weekend. It's not a very nice shot, but it's not a great shot. But what I did was I exposed it for the sky, and then I exposed it for the foreground. And then I combined those two shots together in Photoshop to create this image. So that's something you can do as well. Instead of just applying global adjustments to your image, you could do local adjustments. And, you know, this is a composite of two shots that has then been adjusted in Photoshop. And this was another shot I took on the weekend when I was camping. And you can see from this one here, I've basically taken out the middle section of this image where you just see the dirt, because I didn't think it really added to it. See, I've cropped it out there. So I've shifted the whole fire ring up to make it more of a 4x5 type composition. So these are just some of the things that you can do in post-processing. And I just wanted to show you quickly tonight some examples of where you can go, and you could get obviously much more creative than this. There's also a link in the Facebook page, in the TPC Facebook page right now, about the newish Photoshop sky replacement tool, which just comes with Photoshop, and that might be something you'd want to try. So what we're going to do prior to the meeting in March is we'll send everybody a selection of raw files and ask you to go crazy, have some fun, and do some post-processing, and then we'll get together and discuss those and share our ideas.
Sounds good. Rachel, it's Doug. I one time said to Randy, maybe I never sent him the picture because I haven't done much in the last 6 months, but want to make one of the monthly theme things, post-processing.
Yeah.
Where you can go crazy. You know, you can turn it into a cartoon. You can turn it into sticks, figures, so lots of things you can do. And it'd be kind of fun there to go to the extremes and see these other uses of the image.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get involved in that, Doug, be there or be square in March.
Send me the picture.
Okay, I'll send you the picture.
I don't have cameras, but I do have a laptop. I don't have my hard drives unpacked yet, but
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Rachel. That's a good preview. So I think at this point, we're going to jump right into the what do I do? And if anybody saw one or two of my posts on Facebook about this, I love this one Ansel Adams quote where he goes, the negative or the image in a digital sensor in this case, that's the composition, but the performance is the actual editing part. So tonight we're going to have our two performers are going to be Lauren Nelson and Michael Cohen, and they're going to get to perform on some of your images. So we're going to turn that over to them right now and let them explain their process, and we'll get going.
Michael's going to be the performer. I'm going to be the referee. I've got about 5 screens.
Wait, does that mean I'm the monkey and you're the grinder?
I've got a timer.
Michael, it's good to see you.
We are going to try to keep this on time. I was on a Zoom conference earlier this week that went 2 hours, and I'll tell you, after about an hour and 15 minutes, I was losing my mind and spending more time glancing at Facebook than I was at what was going on. So we're going to try to keep our time under control. We're going to try to limit discussion on each of the images to around 6 to 7 minutes. And I do have a little red button. You might hear the beeper go off if we go over. I also have my chat screen pulled up. So if anybody has questions as Michael is talking and discussing the images, send a chat to me or send the chat to everybody. And Michael's not going to be able to watch that while he's doing his thing in Lightroom. But I'll try to bring these questions up and let him address them as he's going through it. So it should be kind of fun. We're going to make it as interactive as we possibly can. And it really is great to see everybody here tonight. Some of you I haven't seen for months, and I really consider you to be some of the foundational members of the club. So it's really good to see you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michael, and we have talked about images that we're going to look at, and I get to pick the order, and we are going to start with image number 2, Michael, if we could.
Before we go with this gorgeous image from Tim, I just want to check with Becky to see if you have to leave early, because I said if you did, we would get to your image first, Becky.
Thanks, Michael. I need to leave at 6:35, 6:40, somewhere in there.
Why don't we do Tim's first, and then we'll do one of Becky's, Lauren.
Okay.
Thank you.
What number are hers?
She is, let's see. She is number 10 and number 11.
Oh, okay.
You can select either one.
They both are high on my list. Yeah, good.
So before we do anything, like, wow, Tim, how did you get this picture?
Well, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about it before we get started?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I got kind of a bad connection on this end. This is a picture I took of when my wife Deidre and I were puma trekking in Chile in the Torres del Paine Park. We were actually on an adjacent ranch to the park. We had guides and trackers that took us to different places. This female, the trackers had found her on a kill of a guanaco, which is similar to, it looked like a llama. It's their elk down there, but they tracked this this female up to the top of a ridge, and we hiked up there. And Hermesita is her nickname, but she's very tame, obviously. We found her right after she was relaxing and eating some of the kill, and we're on top of this large ridge, and she just hung out. And so I had an opportunity to take a lot of different pictures, some videos, and this is one of my favorites that I took. And I found it a challenge to edit this because of the sunlight drastic lines on the vegetation that you can see there. And when I edited it, I got everything, but on the left-hand side, there's daylight on the boulder, and I didn't know how to get rid of that. I'm sure you can tell me.
So,
but it was,
so,
yeah, so it was a wonderful opportunity, wonderful time.
yeah, so it's a terrific image, and there's plenty we can do with it. Now, Lauren's got a couple of screens going, and I think on one of Lauren's screens, you've got basically a gallery view of everybody. And so what we'd like to hear, everyone can leave their mics unmuted. And if you have a comment or a suggestion to make, wave your hand or put up your reaction hand wave, and Lauren will select you so that everyone isn't speaking at once. And we'll try to implement your suggestions, and we'll see how this image turns out.
First thing I noticed, that's a 220 millimeter shot. That's impressive.
I wasn't very far away. I was probably 25 yards from that cat.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a pretty incredible experience.
So anyone got any ideas?
Well, I've got some ideas. I can start.
Sure. Who's speaking?
Gigi. Gigi, yeah. I think I would start by cropping it. Just cropping it on each side. And then I think I would go down to that place where you can make it white all around the, yeah. And then I would try to make it white around the edges. You know where that is in Lightroom, down near the bottom? I forget what it's called.
Vignette?
Vignette, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be my suggestion.
What about if that,
Yeah, Randy.
what about if that vignette was dark instead of light?
Try it.
It almost looks like you're looking out from a cave or something.
So what do we do about all this here?
Yeah.
Crop it out.
I think it's going to be hard to do anything.
That too much to burn?
So let me offer a couple of suggestions on this. The first thing you can do is you can use highlights and try to bring them down as much as you can. So that helps out a little bit. The next thing you could try to do is you could actually make this vignette even more of a vignette by using the radial tool. And if we just keep the cat light, we can go even further down and darken it even further down there. Open that up a little bit. And then the last thing you can do, because this is still a little bit annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can actually use the spot removal tool to clone another section. Watch this. I'm going to go to the spot removal tool here. I'm going to make my drawing a little bit bigger. I'm going to get this whole thing inside my spot removal tool. And it's going to take another section of the image, and I'm going to move it way over here. And I'm going to drop it down. And then I'm going to change the opacity so that it's only maybe halfway. So now, what it's done is it's darkened all of this, and it's picked up some of this grass and it put it here. So now it looks kind of like bushes in the way of the extension of this piece of grass. So that's something that can be done with the spot removal tool. Now I'm going to take it out just so you can see what it looked like before.
Ooh.
And
Michael, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So that annoying spot there is sunlight hitting the rock that is similar to what's right behind it that's darker to the left of the cat.
Or yeah.
So can you use the spot removal tool to take the color of that stone and, well, make the sunlight the same color as the stone on the upper part of that rock.
Sure, I can just
Rather than vegetation.
just do that.
Because that was more the natural setting is why I asked that.
Sure. Yeah, you can do that. You can also use a graduated filter, bring it over to the left, bring the highlights down a little bit more, and just take the whole thing down a little bit more.
It's still distracting though.
Yep, it is.
Michael, what about the brush? Just brush the highlights and not take that dark down so much.
Sure. Well, okay, so why don't we take the graduated out first? Now we can take a brush and brush over the whole thing. And we can take some highlights down. You can take the exposure down a little bit. The other thing you can do is you can take the saturation down a little bit. That makes it a little bit less distracting, doesn't it?
A little bit.
But you still have a pretty much blown out area.
Yes.
Can you use the spot tool and put in grass?
The easier way to do that would be to go into Photoshop and just content fill the whole space.
Just out of curiosity, Michael, would it be easier if you did it before you cropped it? Because we've kind of cropped out a lot of the extra stuff that you could have maybe cloned in there.
We could. Why don't we reset the whole image? And we could start by trying to replace pieces of it with this rock up here. Maybe this part here. Then we could take this out here.
Michael, we're up to 7 minutes. That was kind of the number you gave me.
Michael, it's Doug.
Yeah.
I love the center part of the image, but I might create a whole new image by doing a square crop just around the head.
I've got one of those at home.
So now I've used the spot tool to take most of that out. Now I'll bring the crop back in. And that might be a better solution. We'll put the vignette back in. And yeah, I think that looks, looks like we're getting there.
Big improvement.
Yeah.
Why are you getting those pink spots?
Couldn't tell you. Came out of something. We can just take them out.
That's okay. I just wondered.
They're rubies in the stone.
So let me go back to the original. And you can see that by cropping, highlights, and then using the spot removal tool to clone another part of the image, we haven't gone into Photoshop, and we got a lot done.
Do some editing tomorrow. I'll see if I can make my other edited photo look better. So.
Okay, Becky, do you want to do this one or this one? Becky, I think you're muted. Okay, I'm going to pick for you. We're going to do this one. Okay, folks, what do you think?
Just the exposure?
Got to boost some black and some shadows and some exposure.
I would almost turn it black and white with a lot of contrast.
If I boost the exposure, before I do that, I want to turn on my clipping. Because at the original, this is the only thing that's pure black. So if I start raising the exposure, I don't want to go too far because you're going to introduce noise. Okay, what else?
I want to watch the histogram when he does that too. I mean, it's pretty dramatic change in his stuff.
Yeah, see it?
That's almost like a levels.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you might want to boost the whites as well.
That's what I was thinking, boosting the whites.
Yeah.
Ooh, you can't do much though.
Well, I brought it up 50 plus 50. Maybe about there, 35.
Yeah, any higher and you'll get loss of texture there. And then actually, if you go to the tone curve and then click that guy to a medium, in the they changed the tone curve interface, and then where you see the RGB circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first little S curve item. Yeah, there it is, a point curve. I'm sorry, you had it in the first place. Change the point curve. Change that to, oops, the white circle. Sorry, Michael.
You sort of want to go like this.
Yeah, you manual that thing out.
Now, what I'm noticing here is in this area.
Yeah, it just turns to a blob.
Yeah, I think
get rid of it.
I think that there's some texture here that we're not picking up. So I might bring down a filter on the diagonal here. I don't know if you can see that. I'll show you what it.
We can see.
So I've picked it up right there. And let's see if we like added clarity into that a little bit.
There you go.
Pick up some texture.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
The highlights down on that too, maybe.
The highlights down on the grad or the whole thing?
Yeah, on the grad. Yeah, just on the grad. I think that might bring a little bit more detail up.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, looking good. How about adding some texture to the whole image?
Yeah, I think that seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
Except in portraits.
Well, yeah.
I posted something like that.
That's how we started. And this is where we are now.
Can you get a little more detail in the black to the right?
Let's see if we pick up some shadows. We can, yeah. Is anyone bothered by this right here?
Now that you mention it, yes.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed it. Now I will just keep staring at it.
Can I crop that just a little bit?
I'd take a little more out of the upper right corner too.
Even more? I don't want to make this spot too narrow.
Right, but you don't have to have a constrained aspect.
Well, I think yeah, let's keep it. Let's keep the aspect ratio for the moment.
Okay. Now that you adjusted the shadows, do you want to make your black blacker?
We can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I wouldn't go any further than there. So here's how we started. And here's where we are now.
Yeah, that's quite an improvement.
Becky, what do you think?
Good.
You know, the only other thing I would do is we've added some texture and we have this nice moving water here. And it feels to me like the moving water isn't moving anymore. So I'm going to take a graduated filter. I'm going to bring it up here and I'll show you where I've put it right there. And I'm actually going to negative clarity to sort of smooth out that water a little bit more. See the difference from there to there? So now we have a little bit of contrast between texture here and smoothness down here.
Nice, looks good.
Okay. Lauren, what's next?
I had number 7.
Number 7. This is Charlotte's. Charlotte, are you with us?
See her.
Where is that cabin?
It says here it's the Pfeiffer cabin. Charlotte, are you here? No, maybe she's not.
How do you get the yellow flowers this time of year?
What kind of suggestions do we have for this image, folks?
It looks to me like it's already been worked on. Is that really the way is that really a raw out of the camera image?
You know, I'm not 100% sure. It was sent over to me as a TIFF file, and I don't see any adjustments on it, but I couldn't be certain.
I think the cabin needs work.
Well, either the cabin
I think
or
the
mountain,
foreground needs some work too in terms of brightening up the yellow.
Brightening up the yellow?
Making them stand out a little bit more, I think.
Does anyone have any issue with the color temperature?
That might do it.
I don't think the foreground and the background match as far as color temperature. And also it also looks very blue.
I mean, I feel like there's sort of a greenish cast to it too. I'm gonna cool it off just a little bit. Just a little bit like that. Does that help?
Yep.
A little bit.
Now, someone mentioned something about the cabin. What do you want to do to the cabin?
Now the cabin is blue.
You might think about, before you do that, again, just take a look at the histogram, and there's nothing on the white end, so you might want to bring your white up just a little bit, make that snow white, and then go to the cabin. I always think it's easier to start with the histogram and then work down, because once you start local adjustments, and anything you do globally is going to mess you up again. You'll have to start over. So that snow looks better now to me.
What's the subject? The peak or the cabin?
That's a good question, Doug.
Because that'll steer you to how you want to process the image a little bit.
I think the
I
cabin.
personally would take the mountains down and bring the cabin up. Make the cabin the subject.
If we make the cabin
only because we see these mountains. The cabin and the flowers to me are the subject.
So if we make the cabin the subject, that'll make the cabin the subject.
But now you've kind of washed out the mountains.
Right. Yeah, put a filter on it.
Gradient filter on the mountains.
Do you want me to bring the mountains back down?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a perfect place to use that luminosity filter on your gradient tool, because you don't want to take down the cabin. And that's the problem. All the people that like the little square things on the front of their wide angle lenses and look like a pro, you can't do that in the mountains. Works great on the ocean, but Lightroom gives you tools that you can take all of your grad effect away from the dark parts of the cabin and not make it look funky. So the top that should be brighter is actually darker right now. So they put this nice little tool in.
See if we can.
And I don't know what it is about that, but when I use that, it seems like between 40 and 50 is where it always ends up. I don't know why. Do others have that feeling?
There you are, about 51.
Yeah, it always ends up somewhere in that area. Now you can go even a little heavier on the mountains, I think. Yeah.
You're talking about the gradient in Lightroom and
the luminosity mask on top of your gradient filter. That used to be multiple steps in Photoshop, and now Lightroom lets you do that all in one step with that control that Michael's circling right there.
So right here, so I started out where the top of the cabin was highlighted with the rest of the whole area. And in the olden days, we would have to take a brush and negative brush it. But now we have these masks. We have a luminance mask and we have a color mask. And using the luminance mask, we change the range of the luminance mask and automatically it will take out the top of that cabin.
You know what I think really shows that off is if you use that black and white, I forget what it's called. You hit the O or something like that and do it, and then you can see where it's making the difference.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had it with the pink, Randy.
Oh, okay.
The only other thing I might do, Michael, while you have that grad up, what about putting some clarity into the mountains? Just on that. Didn't help a lot. And the magic dehaze tool.
You got to use the dehaze tool very carefully.
That was done in Washington this morning. We had a dehaze effect this morning.
All right, so let's show you where we started. And that's where we are. Someone had mentioned something about the flowers before. Do you still have an issue with the flowers?
They seem to have stood out a little bit more now.
So, Randy, what might be the way that we would want to bring up these flowers?
HSL panel.
Radio.
Yeah.
What was that?
This panel here.
I have a rule. If there's a flower in the picture, you use the HSL, always, 100%.
HSL, oh, okay.
So if you wanted to saturate them, you can pick up this little dropper right here, bring it over to the color that you want to change, and then slide your mouse up for more saturation or slide your mouse down for less saturation. Tell me when you like it. I'll keep moving slowly.
A little bit more, I think.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Say when.
That's fine. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now notice that that's actually less saturation than we had to start with.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they're better, less saturated.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yep, looks better.
Because now
it's a lighter yellow, not a golden color.
The only other thing that's bothering me is this.
It's bothering me too.
Dark purple, and we might use the hue because this color isn't found really in the other areas. So we might be able to change the color of that a little bit.
Oh.
No, that's not working. Maybe we could try it with luminance. Maybe we can make it a little brighter.
And you make it warmer, more brown?
I think luminance helps a lot, yeah.
Luminance helps.
Yeah, you did select the target adjustment tool, Michael, before you tried making changes to that sidewall.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Wouldn't you either select the luminance or saturation or whatever you're trying, or and then use the target adjustment tool there, like you did on the.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I started out.
I didn't see you click on that though, and I didn't see it.
First, I raised the luminance of it a little bit.
Okay, now I see the target adjustment tool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, playing with that saturation tool on the yellow, you got to be careful because there's yellow in the wood on the barn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you may want to mask it so that doesn't happen.
You know, the other thing we might try on this barn is let's paint it a little bit and see if we can change the color temperature just a tad, and then I think we're running over time on this. So
Put the auto mask too on that, Michael.
Yeah, I was afraid of getting all the boards though.
Ah.
So now that I have this masked, I could warm it up a little bit. I could brighten it up a little bit. I could even take some of the magenta out. So what we just did was from there, actually from there to there. And now let me go back to the original picture, which was there. And that's where we ended up. It's a pretty good improvement.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Doug's first question was the key. What was your subject? And as soon as you decided it was a cabin rather than the mountains, you knew exactly where to go with your local adjustments. Anybody else on that one?
You know, I try to ask myself all the time, what is this a picture of?
Yep.
So,
where should my eye be going?
yeah. What's next?
Number 9, Michael.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Tim Lobassi, I saw you earlier. You with us?
Yep, I'm still here.
Tell us a little bit about this. This must be California.
This is the pier in San Clemente, actually at sunset, although there's not much of a sunset this night. So what I was shooting for was the pier, the reflections, and that one surfer on the beach.
Yep.
And beyond that, I'll see what you guys do.
So this is one of those images that can go a whole bunch of different ways. What do y'all think?
I kind of like it where it is.
Okay.
I would try it as a pano.
I'd check the histogram first.
I think I'd take out all the other people but the one with the board.
There it is as a pano.
You could still take some of the sky out.
So I usually, when I'm doing panos, I usually do a 2.5 to 1 ratio. So that's a 2.5 to 1 ratio right there.
I think you'd want to keep that light in the lower left-hand corner complete. You took a little bit of, no, yeah. I like that light.
Good suggestion.
Maybe adjust the highlights and see if you get any more detail in the sky.
Nope, not with that.
You change the mood.
Yeah, there's not much in the sky.
Oh, that's pretty.
How about that?
Mm-hmm. I like the original better myself.
Try a soft amount of dehaze and see if that does anything to the sky.
I mean, even if, I mean, you can see, I mean, it's not really going to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying a slight amount, and that doesn't do it. Yeah. Okay. I like the mood right there.
Tim, what was the weather like? What's the mood of this picture when you really saw it?
This is actually a sunny day everywhere except on the beach. So this fog rolled in at almost sunset. So my concept was really the pier and, like you said, the lights reflecting on the beach. I mean, I personally would crop it way in on the right to get rid of that other surfer.
I was going to agree, and I think Candy said that earlier. I'd take some off the right.
This to get rid of this guy?
No, the one that's standing up.
Get rid of this guy?
Yeah, get rid of that guy. So crop all the.
No, I think you've got a beautiful triangle right here with these.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you might want to take out some of the other people that are just kind of distracting and not adding to the image.
The one in the water on the right, you could probably.
On the right, like of the little tiny.
One of the things I would like to see, and I always suggest whenever there's waves, is that we try to bring up some of the white froth in these waves. And I don't know if the whites will do it. No, the whites won't really do it. So what we could do is we could actually brush in some highlights on these waves.
Nice.
Hmm.
What are you using?
I'm just using a brush with exposure. I'll take it down in a bit, but let me just, because the waves are pretty.
That's great. That's really good.
That's nice.
That adds a little contrast to the scene.
How about all of the kind of junky stuff that's around the people, that's just on the sand? If you took that out, it might improve it, I think.
I'm going to go back and warm this up a little bit because it's supposed to be at sunset. And I think if we warm it up a little bit, it's going to accentuate these lights here. And now all of a sudden, these lights start to look a little bit more, you know.
Sky looks better too.
And I might even make that sky a little bit stronger.
No.
I think this is an image where you got to be careful or it looks like you've monkeyed with it.
Does that look monkeyed?
Lens, could you hit the black and white and let me see what the monochrome would look like without messing with it too much?
Yeah.
Different mood, yeah.
I think I like the color one better. It's a little.
You know, I still think I'd take that far right surfer out, crop in a little.
I like him. I like that. Oh, you mean this one way over on the right?
Way over there, yeah.
Yeah, that's stronger.
But I still think you should take out some of those, the dirt or seaweed or whatever it is.
The spot remover?
Right.
Yep.
Pimples on the beach.
Better?
That's better.
Yeah, I think so too.
Here's how we started. And here's where we are now.
Beautiful.
Making it a pano was a good move.
Yep, that's a great idea.
It's beautiful.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, you happy with that, Tim?
Yeah, excellent.
Very good.
Anybody else? Number 8.
Oh, this is a good one. So I want to point out one thing to everybody that Randy did. He created this panorama, and I'm going to let you talk about it in a second, Randy, but I want to observe to everybody that he did one important thing that is critical in panoramas, that you have to shoot in manual exposure, because every exposure has to be the same, because the camera might change the exposure as you swing the camera from image to image, and then you won't be able to stitch them. So tell us about that, Randy.
And white balance too.
This is at Pine Creek Pass on our side. I did this during the smoke. This has probably been 3 or 4 months ago. And I wasn't careful about left to right. Doug used to give me grief about that all the time. And I kind of learned a lesson with this one. There's a couple lessons I learned. One is, how do you change? This is, the sky of this was actually quite a bit different because of the smoke. And the other thing that all of you should learn, if you haven't already, if you're not careful when you're putting a lot of images together in a pano, and then you look at it, blow it up, you may find 10,000 dust spots on it that take, I didn't do it on this one. I took about, golly, 6 or 8 of these pictures. But when I blew the original one up, I must have spent half an hour getting rid of all this. The next thing I did was I took my camera to get them to clean up the sensor.
That's a good point, Randy. When you are shooting panos like that and you've got them now in Lightroom and you see that you do have sensor dust, again, go to the first image, knock out the sensor dust on the first image, and then just synchronize the spot removal tool across them. You get rid of it all at once before you create the panel, so you don't have to go in there and do it 50 times.
Oh, wow.
Just do it on the first image.
So what do we think, folks? What do we want to do with this image? There's a lot. There's a lot.
Really nice image.
It's a beautiful image. There's a lot here.
I would probably lighten up the trees and stuff a bit.
Let's do that by bringing up the shadows.
You want to enhance the layering.
Yes.
How would we do that?
Highlights?
I probably use a brush tool and play with each range. It'd be tedious.
Well, you could do some contouring. So if I went down, let's say a half a stop or a third of a stop, and I just used a brush and I flowed it down lower and I just added some contouring. This is what Doug's talking about. So that adds a little bit of contour to it. So here's what it looked like without it, and here's what it looks like with it. And can you see it on the Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Subtle, but nice touch.
Yeah.
And how about doing that over to the left also? That one, that mount, yeah, that, no, one more. Yeah, that one.
One more range.
One more range, yeah.
Yep. Do it right there. Okay.
And the kind of pink color on the right is nice. It'd be nice to see that a little better.
I just warmed it up a little bit. You know, the other option would be you could cool it off because that'll actually enhance the texture a little bit.
And that really, except where that sky is on the right, the foreground, the mountains were that blue color when I took this. It had a bit of the blue in it when I took the picture.
I like that a little better.
Add a little bit of dehaze to it. And then I can sort of give it a little bit of contrast and then bring the shadows back a little bit. So let's just see where we've gone. So here's where we started. And here's where we are now. So the image has much more balance now, you notice.
Got a number of dust spots to remove there.
Yeah. Everybody know the easy way to do dust spots?
No.
Open up your spot removal tool, go down here to visualize spots. And
you'll get a nightmare.
There they are.
One.
Little snowflakes or dandruff on the mountains.
Yeah.
3, 4.
All the way over the right, all the way over the right, down lower.
6.
There.
7. That's enough for now.
I think those are.
Where was that spotlight tool?
Anybody else?
Yeah,
I've got one other thing that I was afraid to change because I don't have much experience with Photoshop. It's the tree, the dead tree, 2/3 of the way. Yes. And I've gone there a dozen times, well, half a dozen times to try to figure out how do I take this shot without that tree there? I didn't find a way.
You want to get rid of it?
Yeah.
Chop it down.
I thought about
that. How many frames is this, Randy?
How many trees is that one?
No. How many frames did you stitch here?
I think it's about 5 or 6.
Okay, you could take that one frame with a dead thing in it and work just on that before you do the merge.
Oh.
Could be a little simpler that way.
Oh,
or
just
you clone something.
So adding, oh.
Or clone something on top of it like that.
Is that what you're looking for, Randy?
That's good. Yeah, that's so much better because that gives, it fits with the tree that you took it from. You stole it from that one, but makes it look a whole lot better. Oh, thanks.
You could either use this one or you could use this one.
Yeah, I never even thought about it. I was trying to get it to be nothing and that didn't work.
Well, the way you do it to be nothing is instead of picking it up from over here, is you could pick it up from over here.
Now play with the opacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Oh, I see. You just play around with it till it looks about right.
Yeah, but that doesn't, you got a shadow there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that out.
I think it'll look better with Michael's tree movement.
Yeah, Michael's tree was, I think, the best way to do it.
Just made the photo better.
Because the background is about the same color.
Yeah.
Are you doing that with the spot removal tool?
Yeah. And you're moving around the spot that it chose.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn close.
And that's how, that spot removal tool has really evolved in the last 2 years in Lightroom. It's become very, very powerful.
You could put the grant there instead,
Well.
Lauren, are we out of time on this one?
Yeah, that's 8 minutes. How about number 12?
Thank you.
Welcome. Number 12. A happy coyote. Cindy, are you with us?
I am with you. I just took this one in Yellowstone this week. It was a coyote right on the side of the road and it was an old kill. I guess this was an elk leg. And sometimes I look at a photo like this and I'm just not really sure where to begin or what to do with the snow, or do I lighten his face? Would it look natural? I don't know. So I thought I'd ask for advice.
Sure.
I'd probably take the portion of the tail that's off in the low right out. Not the tail, the leg.
The leg.
Yeah, I'd clone that out with snow.
Well, before we get into little details like that, Doug, let's talk about the picture overall.
I think the white, the snow needs to be brightened up. It looks like it's a sunny day because there's some shadow. I take the whites and bring them up to the right.
I think the whole thing needs to be brightened.
A little brighter.
Why don't we start by making sure the whites are white? That's a little bit too much, but we bring it back to about there. That's probably the right color temperature. Everybody know what I just did with the eyedropper?
No.
Trying to set the color temperature, you pick up the eyedropper and you put it on something that is supposed to be a neutral gray. So this looks like it should be gray because it's white in the shadows, right? So if I click on that, it will adjust the color temperature of the entire image. Now this looks a little bit too warm for me, so I'm going to bring it back down just a little bit, and that looks more correct.
That looks better, yes.
So this is how we started.
Yeah, too blue.
And that's how we ended up.
Much better.
So
you
now,
know how to find that white spot.
So now that the color temperature is right, now we want to brighten up this animal a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
We could do it in exposure.
Try the shadow.
We could do it with shadows. But the question is, it's a pretty bright sunny day. Should we set our white point so that we're getting as much sun as we should be getting? See, that's really what the day looked like right there.
Yeah.
How did you get that color?
I just brought up the whites. I turned on the white point up here in the histogram.
Oh, okay.
So you could see where it would start to clip. And then I just started raising the white point until we get clipped.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bring it back down. So that is what the day really looked like.
Show how you do that with the Alt or the Option key.
Or you use the J key to turn on the white and the black point. So now to me, his or her eyes are a little bit.
Yeah, I would say adjust the eyes a little.
Mm-hmm.
Now I would probably use the brush and bring them up just a little bit.
You're gonna lighten them?
I'm just gonna raise the shadows, just like that.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You went from that to that.
What about add a little sharpness to it?
What are the natural color of those eyes? You may want to play with the HSL, and it might help separate the eye out from the rest of the face.
Yellow?
Well, if I turn that spot back on, you want to make them a little warmer? There.
What color are the coyote's eyes?
Brown. They're brown.
A light, dark brown? I mean,
no, that's about the natural color now.
Okay.
That looks good.
Would you sharpen the eyes at all, or
Yes.
Really...
I might sharpen the whole image.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice texture there. I think you want to bring out.
This is a matter of preference. What if I increase the saturation a little bit of that tongue?
Mm-hmm.
So I just went from that up to that.
Oh, much better.
A little bit, yeah.
Want to be the dentist and lighten his teeth too?
Well, I'm just wondering if we have too much over here, guys.
Yeah, that was actually a nice crop of the face.
That was a nice crop, a little wider, and that was a nice crop. Yep.
So the third is on his face?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
How about there?
That's good, really good.
I like that.
Now you know exactly where to look.
And did you do any sharpening yet, or?
Yeah, no.
What do you recommend?
So let's do a little bit of sharpening.
A little clarity, maybe.
Or yeah, more. I think texture more than clarity. But
okay, so I just added a little bit of sharpening. If I add a little bit of texture, ooh boy, look at that.
Started to mention that I posted that article, I think on our Facebook page this week about the difference between texture, clarity, and sharpening. And I think one of the take-home messages that this new thing with texture has to do with what they call high-frequency information on the image, which is the fur, and that's really where texture does a great job. Where the snow, clarity picks up more of that low frequency stuff that you see in the snow. So it's.
It almost looks like he's got a spotlight on his chin.
Like a reflection off the snow?
It does, a reflection of the snow.
So Cindy, let me make one suggestion, and this is just sort of a matter of personal preference.
Yes.
Sometimes to me, all of this snow becomes a little bit distracting. And sometimes I want to just blow it out completely.
Yeah, make it high key.
Well, you're not so much making it high key, you're just sort of
taking it away.
Yeah.
Not so distracting.
I mean, even if I put a circle around this guy, that's totally a matter of personal preference.
I like the pose.
Because it really does focus you
It does.
on what you're looking at.
I like that.
You could bring it back a little bit, but you know, I wouldn't bring it back much more than that. So let's see where we started. We started here.
Wow.
Isn't it amazing to
It's
look
amazing.
back? It's amazing to look back where you started and go, oh my God, that's what we started with?
I knew it
It's
was
so
too
blue.
blue, but what you did was great with the eyedropper. That really worked.
And then that's where we are now.
Wow.
This is why.
Color's so much better. Sorry.
That's why it's all a black hole for time.
Looks much better.
Where are we going, Lauren?
Yeah, any other comments? Number 5.
Wow. Looks almost perfect, right? Rick, tell us about this.
This was taken in Utah around Moab on Highway 128, which runs along the Colorado River. It's a very picturesque valley, and I've been there a number of different times. This is I think one of the better shots I've got. So I'm curious what you all did with it, could do with it compared to what I have done with it. So
pretty nice straight out of the camera, gotta tell you.
I might want to see just a little more detail in the sky, either with the brush or the, you know, the grad with a luminance filter.
So let's go through this again. So now that we pulled down this grad, we can open one of these range masks, and we can either use color or luminance. And I'm going to try color because those red rocks are so different than the sky. And as I start to move, oops. I'm going to pick up a color. And you see how it masked everything, but I picked up the wrong color. I wanted to pick up here, and it just swapped it. So now everything down here is outside of the mask, and in here is inside the mask. So now I can shut this off.
can't you also select multiple spots of color with this tool?
Well, it'll keep changing the color. You can only give it
one,
okay. And then you can give it a range. So it'll
I misremembered.
It'll give you a sort of a plus and minus on the color.
Okay.
So now that I have this,
the luminance mask too, and show the difference, because.
So you can see how the sky has been perfectly masked off of the rocks. And now we can sort of add some texture.
Dehaze.
Add some clarity. Whoa, baby. Add some dehaze.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, Moses will come around the corner here in just a second.
Hey, Michael.
Who needs Photoshop sky replacement when you can do that, huh?
You don't need it. You've got a good sky.
Yeah, I like this guy.
But now I would somehow highlight that tabletop more.
Can you take a narrow radial filter?
Okay, so now we
on
have
the edges.
Now we just want to check for chromatic here. This isn't too bad. So now you want some more exposure on the rocks? Or
I would, my taste would be a little bit more. I would want to see that first with my eye, not the peaks behind it. Then your eye goes to usually the brightest spot.
Yeah.
So did he do something to change chromatic?
It's a nice composition though.
So let's review. Here's where we started. Here's where we are now. You might want to bring up the whites a little bit. And bring down the black point. We haven't even talked about bringing down the black point and what it does. It really does add punch, because what you're basically doing is you're adding contrast by making the black blacker and the whites whiter.
Michael?
Yep.
The top of the mountain looks a little wrong. It looks, I mean, maybe it's a chromatic aberration you were talking about, but it doesn't look natural.
It almost looks like it's been layered on top, right?
Yeah.
So what we need to do then is to go back to this graduated and
zoom in first.
So if I take out some of that clarity, does that look better now?
No.
No.
It's still pretty obvious. Yeah.
But that might, from a geological point of view, could be a very different layer. And okay. You might be stuck. That's why I say zoom in a little bit on that tabletop peak there and see what it looks like.
So I've taken a lot of the effect out, but we still have some in, and I'll show you what we can do after that. So let me just show you where we started. And then here's where we are. And if we want to stay away from this, I can layer another graduated filter on top of the first one. Keep it away from that tabletop. And now add back some of the effects that I took out before.
I think that's much better. Mm-hmm.
Is anybody bothered at all with the left edge crop there? I see that little white spot in the crotch of the rock that bothers me, and then that half a brush that's right there. I wonder if just cropping just a tiny bit over there would kind of clean that edge up. The other's so nice and clean. You got that beautiful diagonal, you know, almost at right angles to the skyline.
You treat it like a spot and just take it out.
Well, yeah.
Lauren, I have the same question I want to ask once you're done with the sky, Michael.
Lauren, can you say again what you just said? Because I didn't hear you.
That little bright spot in the sky, the crotch of that rock, yeah, just above it, yeah, below, yeah, right there. That, and then that half bush that's down below. That's why I was thinking about a little crop. No, below
no, farther down.
Yeah, that one. It's right on the edge. No, on the edge, left edge.
This one.
Yeah, sort of half there. And I just wonder if just cropping that edge over just that little bit to get that out of there, if that would, yeah. You'll lose your 3x2, but I wouldn't want to take any off the vertical.
Make it an 8x10 and just cut off the left.
I think if you take the left off, I think it's going to be unbalanced.
You think?
For me.
I think the rule of thirds still works. Look.
I think that looks really good.
Yeah,
try.
I'd go in even tighter if you're going to do that.
Rather than come in here a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I don't think you want to get too much tighter. You're going to lose the creek.
Try.
Anyone
try?
Yeah, don't come from the right.
Yeah, try.
I mean, this makes the mountain more the subject of the picture, but I think that's okay.
Yeah. The thing that I think is missing it is the red rocks and how red they are. So I would suggest we head into the HSL panel and try to
I just have to warm it up
the saturation or whatever of the rocks in general, the red rocks.
How about that?
Well, except the lower left then is to me not natural. So I would do it with a brush just on the tabletop.
But that is the color though.
Oh, I know. but it just draws my eye wrong. That's all.
Yeah, but if this is a little bit too saturated, I can just take it out.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Use a filter and take some of it out. Yeah.
How about that? Better?
I think it's balanced better.
How do I share my screen with you all? I'll show you what I had done.
You actually can't, unfortunately.
I can't share my screen? Okay.
The host can, but no.
What else?
I like that you've taken out the what I would call the left-hand side that kind of takes your eye away from it, because what the mountains in the middle to the right are the most important ones, and I don't think the sides now are much more neutral.
Okay.
Now you might add a little bit of a vignette to this, just a little bit.
Rick, can you describe what you did to it?
Can I describe what I did, you say?
Without.
Yeah, it's a much more saturated treatment that I did to it. You know, both from the red standpoint and also the green standpoint as well, to make the green stand out as well, to make the whole thing kind of pop. I like what you've done with the
sun
sky.
was on it.
Mine's pretty close to that too. So.
Let's just make a suggestion. Why don't you post that to Facebook for us tomorrow?
Okay, I will do that.
And we'll take a look at these side by side, or at least.
Okay.
That'd be kind of cool.
And let's just try one quick thing before we go.
Yep, that's good. Okay, there we go.
You know, in both the monochrome and the color, that far peak, you know, to the left of the tabletop looks just a little bit washed out. You might want to do some brush work on that.
Doing it.
I want everyone just to think about this too. You know, we're spending roughly 8 minutes on this image, on most of these images, and we're spending probably 6 of the 8 minutes talking about what we should do. You know, so these are 2-minute fixes. You know, neat stuff. God, that's gorgeous.
That looks really good.
That looked good on my wall back here, right?
Beautiful.
There's nothing quite like rocks and sticks.
I like when in that kind of image. I like the high contrast that's there. To me, it gives more detail.
Pretty picture, Rick. Thank you.
The black and white really looks. This clouds, for me, make it because it looks like a storm. I'm like, I better get to the car and get out of here, kind of a thing.
Hi, Sam.
Or get it back in it.
No, I would just sit there and wait for Moses to come down with the tablets.
So the rule that most people say when you're talking about, you know, pre-visualization and monochrome is how much color is in the image. If it's a drab, boy, go monochrome. You know, here's one that the colors are just off the wall, beautiful. And yet look what happens when you go monochrome. It's dramatic.
It's on Facebook now, so.
Right.
It's already out there.
Going monochrome is very good technique with portraits because sometimes the skin tones and then the surrounding, it's very hard to get a proper skin tone, especially with the Latinos that I shoot. I actually use HSL and take a little bit of orange out, a little slight saturation. But you turn it to a black and white, you have a lot more freedom in what you're doing.
So that's how Rick processed it.
Lot
more
Rick.
saturation. More saturation.
Yeah. That feels a little heavy-handed to me, Rick.
Yeah.
It does to me too, but it may not be on a postcard that somebody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
You're right there.
Okay, where are we going?
Looks like we have time for one or possibly two more. I am puzzled by number one, image number one. I'm just curious about what's there because I only saw the thumbnail, so oh, there we go.
I was hoping you'd actually skip that. I don't know what I was thinking when I chose this one.
David, are we going till 8 or till 7:30?
Till 8.
Okay.
Oh,
great. We can do a couple more.
I mean,
Kathy, tell us about this.
So this is we have a railroad roundhouse in Cleveland. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. And my camera club went there a few years ago. And my dad and my brother were both welders. So the welder captured my attention. And I shot it from inside an old railroad car. And I guess kind of how you would crop this picture is probably one of the key things that I was looking for. And I would want to get rid of the truck, but I realize that's more than what you would do in Lightroom. And now the van, I see the van too.
So the thing that I want to, the thing that this picture is asking me is, do I want to know that that's a train, or is it just shooting through the window with extra stuff? And I think if I want to know if it's a train, I want to see more of the walls of the interior of the train.
Yeah, you want to bring them up, yes.
So if we bring that up, if we bring the shadows up on that, I start to see a little bit of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the picture's starting to take on a little bit of a different dimension, isn't it?
Yes. I like that technique because now if the image outside the window being relatively a rectangle parallelogram, it'd be easy to take that whole piece to adjust its exposure than trying to paint the interior or something. So I think in this one, fixing the interior first is the way to go. Now you also see the wall.
Right.
There's
so
a truck.
I think I would crop a little bit to get rid of this right here.
Make it an 8x10 crop.
Well, I'm going to leave the aspect ratio. I'm just going to.
Yeah, there's a gap there.
Going to take out that little gap.
Well, here's a challenge. Do we want the second window or just one window?
That's what I was wondering too. Do we leave that?
I was asking that. Yeah.
Goes back to the question, what's the subject? Because what Michael did now puts you inside of the train car, but what you're talking about now is now you're saying what's outside of that window.
Well, you got the nice springs on the truck there, the wheels.
See, Kathy, I think this is a black and white picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
It makes it old school, and that's kind of what we're looking at.
Exactly. What's that blue indicating?
That's clipping.
Black clipping. Black clipping.
Okay.
You know, if you're going to go this route, you might want to tone it.
Good.
Like a sepia or?
Yeah. Or I would try. I try a whole bunch of different ones to see what works best.
Right.
Yeah, see, it's starting to look like an old newspaper picture now. And see, to me,
look at the Lightroom presets, because they've got a nice sepia Lightroom preset that comes with your package. And a lot of people forget about those things, or they go out and they spend 50 bucks buying a bunch of this stuff. And there's a lot of neat things in Lightroom.
I would give it a selenium before I'd give it a sepia.
Yes.
There it is as a sepia. But see, I think you're starting to now tell a story.
Yeah.
You've got just enough of this. Railroad seat to wonder who's sitting in that seat, and why don't I see them, and what could they be looking at? This is sort of taking taking on a little storybook. Let's look at the original. And here's where we are now.
Yeah, you've narrowed the subject down. I like that.
And I'm not sure I would do this, but you could actually just color the arc and leave it a black and white.
Make it glow.
That's more than I can do in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I know, but just a kind of interesting thought.
Would you do anything like where the trees, with the trees in the sky, so that's not distracting?
I don't see it.
I mean,
I go to the welder, the truck, and the
if you want to
and the railroad ties next to it.
You want to accentuate this a little bit, I'll put a radial filter, I'll invert it so that I can actually add some contrast or add some clarity, if that helps. You like how that looks better? That's how we started, and that's where we ended up.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you see the railroad ties better.
Now, by the way, even though it doesn't look like it, this is a square now.
Really?
Yep. I knew you had to get there at some point.
Kathy, I like that. You like it?
I do. Thank you.
I like it.
It tells a story. That's him. I find that important in lots of photos. That the story jumps out at me, makes me think about it.
Otherwise, it's a snapshot.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're all guilty of that.
Okay, Lauren.
Oh, I was going to say, Michael, just for fun on that, one of the controls we haven't looked at yet is the transform. And notice the window. Show how the transform tool lets you change the shape of that thing. If you want that to turn out to be square, like you're looking straight out the window versus through the angle.
Yeah, so did you guys see the difference? With it off and
Yeah.
automatic?
I like that.
It doesn't look natural. I like the original.
Yeah, if you were sitting in that seat, it would be, you'd be framed like the original. If you turned your head to look at it.
I think this makes the point of view like a little taller. I kind of like it, but it's a matter of preference.
Yeah, it's preference, yeah. And you've got all those little tweak controls over there where you can change it left to right, up and down. I mean, you really get a lot of things when if you're doing any kind of architectural photography where you've got straight lines and lines that should be parallel.
Yeah, we actually completely change. We can change
that. And it'll auto crop for you and everything. So pretty wild.
So do you see what I did? So that's how the image started out. And we've actually moved ourselves back in the seat a little bit to look straighter out the window.
How are you doing that? Is that transform?
With the hard tool and transform.
I like that.
Just a fun tool to think about, something we don't use much in nature photography, but if you do architectural photography, it's powerful and it really does help you.
I don't know, as a technique when playing with the controls, I often will throw them to the extreme and then start backing them off.
Yeah, I do too.
You kind of like you kind of like fall into a happy place easier.
Where are we going next, Lauren?
I had down 15. I wasn't sure if 14 and 15, if one is raw and one is.
One of them is in focus and the other isn't. I wanted to just do one.
Yeah, can we do the raw one?
I don't. Let's see. It's 2. Woodpecker 2 is the one in focus. So let's use that one.
Okay.
This has got some motion blur in it, and it's got a bunch of noise in it.
Yeah, it's a dark spot taken through a kitchen window, and the ISO is pretty high.
Yep.
And that woodpecker just did not want to hold still.
That way.
Well, you got a lot of resolution here.
I like that image.
Mm.
It's a familiar image, but different. In that the red string, I think it just adds so much to it.
Hmm.
You could maybe take the saturation of the red down just a tad.
Anyone have suggestions besides making it a vertical, which I just did?
No, I like that, but I'd like a little more space on the right of the woodpecker.
I agree. I was thinking the same.
That's better, I think.
So I think we
just to address her motion blur and stuff. I don't know if you want to do this now, but I know we've talked a lot about topaz. It would correct a little bit of that.
Yep, it would. Yeah, I don't think we have time to do that now.
Right. I don't think we want to do it, but.
I also think that this image is a little bit too cool. So I want to warm it up just a little bit to get that white looking a little more white. See the difference?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
Is the image a little dark? I mean, does it need to be a little lighter?
Bring it up to the third. And the other thing that
one thing you might want to do is, since you shot it through windows, you're going to need to get rid of the window green cast. You see it in the woodpecker's feathers. And yeah, so if you do a little magenta shift just a tiny bit, it should take that out. Otherwise, it's super easy to always tell when you shoot through a window.
And I want to accentuate this red a little bit, but I don't want to do it by saturating the red. I want to do it by warming up this wood.
Good.
So I'm going to try going in here, see if I can warm this wood up a little bit. So.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot better.
We started there and went there.
A vignette would probably help this too.
To do that. And let's bring the white up in the bird a little bit.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So we started here, and now we're here.
Much better.
Yeah, the bird, it really stands out a lot better.
Yeah.
Would you want a little more texture in the feathers?
Sure.
Yeah, so we got to get rid of some of this noise. Better. And to David's earlier point, that topaz also has a denoise that is incredibly good.
Really?
Yeah.
On the regular topaz?
Yeah, it's a suite of products. So here we are.
I think
here's,
I have it.
Here's where we started, and here's where we are now.
Much better.
Yeah, much better. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else? I had, let's see, Becky's got number 3.
Oh, I've been waiting for this one. This is a good one.
That is a good one.
So I have a question. Ben, have we seen this picture once before, a long time ago?
Yeah. Yeah, you might. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just not going to give up on it, are you?
This was in Virginia City, Montana. It is no longer there. They have since torn it down.
Oh, that's too bad.
I got to tell you, there's about 3 pictures in here.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, always look for a picture in a picture.
All All right, folks, where do we start?
Well, I would decrease the exposure a tad to make the wood more prominent.
Before you go there, I think we need to decide what our picture is. What's your picture with the pumps?
Yeah, I would agree.
Those trees on the left don't add much.
I don't think the building on the right adds a lot either.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that the gas station pumps and the lower level, yeah, but pull out, crop out the trees on the left. They just, yeah.
Keep going.
Cut out that roof line on the very upper right-hand corner, I think.
I think you should keep some of the building on the right.
Oh,
I do too.
There's too little of it right
there. Otherwise, the whole thing seems to be. Yeah. You got to be careful you don't get things floating in space.
Keep talking.
The sky, bring out the sky.
So this is a tricky sky to bring out in color. So if I try to bring out the blue, I'm going to get all sorts of chromatic nonsense going on here. I can try to bring down a filter and use a mask. And let's see how that's going to work. It might be a little difficult, but let's take a look.
After you go through the color, submit trying this in black and white and really crank on it.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
No, that's not going to work. A little better.
Make it all monochrome except for the pumps.
I think I'd stretch your grad down too to cover the whole roof, because there's a lot of texture in that roof that's kind of missing right now.
what if you dehaze that top
No,
sky?
Lauren, I was masking out the roof and just doing the sky.
Okay.
Now we can add texture or clarity to the whole image and give it a sort of a grungy look. And now desaturate it. So there's sort of an old style grungy look to it.
Ben, how much was a gallon of gas?
I think if you pull in on the pumps, you'll see.
29 cents.
Is it?
Yeah, can't see it.
I'm old enough to remember 29 cents.
So now I'm getting bothered by this.
Yeah.
This color.
Warm it up.
You had a
too young.
Vignette.
Let's see if we can desaturate that color.
Yeah, whether those.
That's better.
That's better.
The plywood's a whole nother picture.
What's that?
That plywood is a whole nother picture. There's textures and swirls in it, but it's distracting, yeah, right now.
So there's one version of that picture. Let's go back. Now let's do another one.
How about trying just increasing the pumps, and so they stand out, really stand out from the background. In other words, make a pump the subject, not have the pump in an environment, but kind of like make a pump the.
And it might look older if it was black and white.
Also add a vignette to the image. I mean, if it's gonna be an old thing, make it look like an old image. It's too perfect.
Ben, did you just happen to come across this, or did you know it was there and you went looking for it?
I used to live in that valley.
Okay.
I have a great story about it, but it's too long to tell here.
Well, when you drive around the West, you see a lot of that just stuck away.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's an old image. So what did I do? I desaturated, I increased the whites and the shadows, and I warmed it up a little bit. Didn't even add any clarity. If you do that, you get to there. Now you can just imagine an old buggy pulling through, right?
An old pickup truck.
Yeah.
My grandfather's old Buick, black Buick.
Yes.
For poops and grins, why don't you click on sepia? Black and white sepia.
That looks like a picture from the 50s.
It really makes the gas.
If memory serves me correct, the station closed in 1960.
Actually, instead of sepia, can you do like a blue tint or a platinum or something like that?
I'll do selenium in a second, but I was going to add some grain.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Here's your old picture. Now let's look at it blue tone.
Nope.
Yeah.
Michael, click on the basic panel, if you would, please. Do any of you, and then down below black and white, there's the little matrix.
Yeah.
Any of you ever go into this panel?
Yeah.
And try different things? Look at the black and white one.
Oh.
Different presets. Ooh.
If
Remember,
nothing
if
else,
you use
I
a
suspect
preset,
some of our members haven't seen that panel and know where it is. So
if you use a preset, that's just the starting point. You can still fine tune it.
Sure.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
And then if you like it, save it as a new one.
So in that version, that's where we started and that's where we ended up.
Much more dramatic.
And those wooden panels don't show up as much in the black and white version either.
No, right.
Let's see that black and white again, Michael. Yeah, those wood, the young wood panels look like old.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we got time for maybe one or two more.
Yeah, we're good now.
See, I like that because to me, the pumps are the subject, subjectively for me. So
did Lou submit one?
Yep. It's number 6.
Next on my list. Oh.
Okay.
I thought I submitted it in black and white, but I guess I didn't.
It's easy enough to change it.
You did submit it, Lou, but I wanted it straight out of the camera. So
okay.
You want it to be black and white?
Well, see what people want to do with it.
Histogram.
Crop some of the sky.
Yeah. Make it more like it's a panel with down to that top cloud.
Top, yeah, you've got more sky than you need up top there.
So Lauren just mentioned histogram. Somebody tell me what's going on here.
it's all in the middle.
What do we want to do about that?
I'd first find the black point. I'd find the black point first, which is down in a line of trees somewhere. I can't tell on my iPad too well, but
yep, there, and I'll bring the white point over.
Oh, the snow is white.
Snow is white. Okay, so that's step 1. Next.
I'd hit the highlights a little to the left so that snow on the mountains stands out a little better.
This area here?
Yeah, but I think if you bring down the highlights, that will clean those up a little bit.
A little bit. Add a little clarity will do that too. or actually even a little dehaze without killing the sky too much. Someone said something about the sky before.
I would crop some of the sky out of the top there, you know, get down to where the clouds become part of things.
So you want to change the aspect ratio or pull the whole thing in?
Yeah, I would do a freeform crop as opposed to a constrained crop. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, right about there.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a 16 by 9.
Yeah.
Let's see if that is a 16.
That's the way you'd frame it for a postcard to sell.
That's exactly a 16 by 9 now.
Yeah, that's better.
It is a good idea when you guys are cropping to see if you can crop into some standard aspect ratio.
Yeah, I understand.
It makes it easier for printing. It makes it easier to sell it. It makes it easier so that if someone is looking at a series of your photographs, that there's some consistency to the aspect ratios.
Can you show how to do that again?
Sure.
Thank you.
Right up here, the crop tool.
Okay.
And I've got a variety of standard sizes, or you can put in your own custom. Like I told you before, my panoramas are 2.5:1, and you do that by clicking entering custom, and then you can put in whatever aspect ratio you want, and it memorizes it.
And I found that if there's any chance that you're going to print it, that's a good way to do it, because otherwise you get, and then you can't move it around and you're losing something.
And just in case you don't know, 16 by 9 is mostly what high definition screens are now for TVs. For those who are going to have a huge TV on the wall and just show their photos in the future.
What else would we want to do with this image?
Can I ask a question? What is that? I can't tell what it is. It's near the bottom, near the middle. It's like a shadow, or yeah, what is that? What is that?
Just darker.
There or to the right?
Oh, I see. It's just
Oh.
I thought it was something there. It's just snow.
It's a path.
Okay. Path.
Hey, Michael, can you convert this one to black and white and take the blues in the HSL and just squash them and make it like a red 25 filter?
Yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
You're gonna have to explain what a red 25 is to the young kids.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Apparently, I'm showing my age. You can't use that on the camera, but it sure works well.
Here's a yellow filter. Here's an orange filter. Here's a red filter.
Yeah, much better.
No.
Yes, much better.
That's how you got contrast in the old days.
Really nice.
And then you can.
Once you did it, you couldn't throw it away. It's done.
Right.
Yeah, that's much more interesting to look at.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion.
Yeah, you unscrewed it and took another photo is what you did.
Can you put some texture into the mountains a little bit, I wonder?
A little bit.
Use a brush and
I feel like we're losing
some in.
a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the left corner there.
Pretty nice.
A lot more drama. Actually, it's got that macro look because of how the stippling on the lights on the trees is. That's cool.
That's where I was trying to get, but couldn't get there.
Ben,
Looks
what do you
good.
Yeah, we can actually brush in some more texture down here.
I just wanted to see it in the mountains.
Yeah, don't overdo it though.
Oh.
Randy, was this, I'm sorry, was this near, up near Tetonia somewhere?
No, this is the lake. It's Jackson Lake.
Oh, okay. They're similar pictured over by Tetonia and Alta when you back away from the range a little bit onto the ranches. Some nice trees down below.
Aaron, it definitely has that miniature look, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just because of how the light casts there, and it looks like the mountains are subtly soft. So that, yeah, anytime you get that depth where something's sharp and then it's quickly blended, yeah, it's got that tilt shift macro look. I love it. That's much more interesting because I think the color really in the sky just overwhelms it. So you put it to the black and white, it's much cooler.
You may want to take this at 4 different seasons.
So let me show you guys how to give it that look. You take the sharpness out of the front, and then you take some of the sharpness out of the back. And you get a miniature look. Isn't that cool?
It's funny that just by the lighting, it already had the look anyway.
Yep. Oops.
I like the trees to be sharp myself. I like that better.
I'll just take it out.
So Michael, can you send me that image so I can play with it and see if I can make it happen?
Sure thing. I'll send it to you. Like
you gotta reproduce it yourself now.
So sell it for your $10,000. That's the winner right there. I know Peter, or people are bashing on Peter Lick on the Facebook page. Sell it for your $1 million. Add a moon in the background, and you got it.
I'd never thought of taking the sharpness out of the clouds to make them look like they're moving. That's really nice. It looks like it's been taken at 2 seconds or something.
Yep. All right, I think we got. Do we have time for one more, or David? You tell me.
You're muted, David.
Did we get them all? I think we got them all. Oh, we didn't get this.
4 and 13 are 2 others that we haven't touched on.
No, 13 we did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next one.
That one. We didn't see that one.
We didn't do this one.
Right. Yeah.
Should we do this real quick?
Sure.
Needs to be brighter. We need some sky. Now, the nice thing about this sky is the horizon is pretty much flat. So we can pretty quickly add nice sky to it. We can set the white and the black point. Put a little vignette on it. I might actually desaturate this a little bit. I know, Rick, you like saturation, but we'll take it out, down just a little bit to give it a little bit more natural look. So we started here, and in 15 seconds, we ended up there.
Well, I was just going to say it was 15 seconds of work.
Yeah, I would bring the pile up a little brighter, just the pile. Unless you want that rock to the right to be the subject. Yeah.
What if you crop some of the picture at the left, crop it at the left, and then the haystack would be in a better position?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If you crop the picture from the left a little bit, and make the haystack, right, make the haystack in a better position. Yeah, crop.
Oh no, I think you need both vertical posts.
You don't want to lose the.
So try it and see.
Crop on the right.
Yeah, do it that way.
You're bringing it this way.
Yeah.
Well, the haystack is just right in the middle. That bothers me a little bit.
I'm going to warm it up a little bit. It'll feel better.
You can take those telephone lines out in the background. Oh, that's another fence that's falling over.
Yeah, I was going to say, it'd be nice to see that fence a little better.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time. I'm going to run through all of the images we went through.
Hey, and while Michael's doing that, let me make sure y'all hear me okay. Everybody hit the chat and just give me a yes or no if you'd like us to do these type of sessions in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, just hit the chat button and that way I can see.
Okay.
Yeah, yes or no on the chat and to me. So.
Oh.
You can hit it to everyone. It doesn't matter, but.
Send it to the host.
Well, we got 3. Yeah.
While you're doing that, I have a question. Is there a way you can make the picture a little bit smaller so we can see the tools better?
You can move the faces from the left to the right, so you can see the tools.
Yeah, Kathy, you can just minimize all the faces entirely.
No, I don't mean, I mean the Lightroom itself.
Yeah, I'll do that in 1 second. I'll show you what I mean.
Okay.
Oh, is there?
You can sum this up with one 4-letter word, PLAY.
So, Kathy, can you see where my cursor is over here on this
I
panel?
can see them, yes, but it's hard to see what you're actually moving. My camera club here did the same thing last night, ironically.
Yeah,
and I could see what
I'm not able to make this any bigger. Maybe
okay.
maybe a pair of readers.
I got plenty of those. At least one in every room.
Well, thank you, everybody.
I think that in some ways this has more value than the monthly event that we do. Now, I don't want to do away with those either, but I think like once a quarter or so, but now that you're here, maybe we do it all the time, but once a quarter, it'd be a nice diversion from going out and everybody's shooting ice and we're going to throw it up at freezing in a week. So you see a lot of different subjects and you're going to process them differently. So I really think this is a better learning tool.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, the one thing is that I think what the other sessions do is it gears more to those of us who are less facile with what we do. And this is geared more to the people who are more experienced. So I think they both need to be done, but I wouldn't.
Yes.
You know, the other thing that I think these sessions do is even if sometimes you don't necessarily pick up every single thing that we do, it gives you some ideas of what's possible and some ideas of how you might want to look at your picture differently. I mean, I know that, you know, I'll stare at a picture for 20 minutes and not know quite what to do. And my wife will come over and say, well, you know, why do we have this here? And, you know, why don't you fix that? And it's like, as soon as you look at it from another set of eyes, you can really make some progress on it.
I really like that too. I think the set of a different set of eyes is valuable. I also think that this works on Zoom. It brings in people that aren't here, and that's fine. I think that we get a chance to see them, talk to them from all over the country.
Yeah,
no, to get a different set of eyes, you just get up, you walk to the refrigerator, grab a beer, and come back. Or coffee.
Hear from Lou again, if we could. One thing we tried a couple of years ago, Lou, was to take about 15 minutes and really go into one particular tool and show 5 different ways to do the same thing, and then did this with the image, kind of focusing on that tool. Would that help so that kind of gives that background information? What do you think?
I'd like to see that.
I think that's important, especially as a new tool or a change to a tool comes out in a new release. Because sometimes the tool changes are very subtle, and you really have to play with them to see how the enhancements can be an enhancement to you and your image processing. Especially when they drop some new tool in.
I mean, perhaps,
you know, and since you don't have a manual, there's no manual to go through, so you really got to play and learn, or search the web for somebody explaining how that tool works. I think that's a good idea. Once focus on a tool or two.
It might be helpful to, you know, if we have another session like this with this kind of objective, to within one of those sessions, say take the first part of it or the last part of it and whatever, and say, let's look at a tool and what it can do and how you might use it.
I like
Good
that.
idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there usually is some.
David, did we record this?
I did, I hope.
Awesome.
Record, but
no, I think that's very valuable.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're over our time, so thanks for being
real quickly, I want to do one thing. Randy, I want you to speak so the screen goes to you, but I want you to turn to your left. Now, does he look like this? Okay.
Martin, you need to add music with it. Drop drum.
Yeah, I just think, Randy, you got a whole new do there you can work on if you'll make Mohawk. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. I will, and we got a lot of feedback on the chat there. So yeah, very positives.
What's coming up next?
Next month, we're going to do, CJ's going to have her
night
talk on astrophotography and night photography.
I had a question about that. It's astrophotography, but is it in Zoom or are we actually going someplace?
Oh, no, it's all going to be on Zoom. Yeah, we're doing everything on Zoom until I get vaccinated.
Yes.
And then we're going to still do it on Zoom.
I put off my back surgery until
Kit gets vaccinated, because she's the youngest. So when Kit gets vaccinated, we can all get together.
I think that because I work at the resort, and as a tram operator, they're considering tram operations as public transportation. So I think have access to it in March.
Cool.
So I may be ahead of some of you.
Kit, how long have you been doing that?
I just started tram operations in November when the resort opened.
Okay, my son had already left. He used to fly it. And he actually worked all the different lift operations. And on the old gondola, one year, he was a mechanic. And at night, you know, somebody sleeps up there. And they would do maintenance on the gondolas at night. One of the biggest maintenance thing is to polish the windows who get scratched up by poles and skis. They don't do that in Park City. He says that's a lousy operation down there.
Yeah.
Well, big thanks to Michael for all this work that he did.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Good exercise. Good exercise.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks, Michael.